Hey, welcome in. On today's show, we have the Mitsubishi Outlander is newly redesigned and revealed.
Oh boy, this is.
So we're going to talk.
There's some interesting strategery going on there. Chevy, Disney, and the Bolt EUV. If you don't know what an EUV is, stay tuned.
Right. I see. I got that in order. Yeah, that's great. Right on. So, hey, we're also going to be talking a little bit about Airstream. Everybody knows the little silver rocket Airstream, which is very recognizable in the RV industry.
They have
got a little news coming up on that.
Something going on to cater to the EV crowd with that.
Absolutely. What else we got?
We got NASCAR coming back to Nashville.
Man, talking about that dang old NASCAR, come back to Nashville. Woohoo!
Yep.
Yeah, man, we're gonna get on done. We gonna talk about the boss now?
So details on that. Jay's boss. Your boss or the boss?
The boss, man.
Yeah, follow up.
Yeah.
Right? Follow up on that whole, what are we calling this? Jeepgate? I don't know,
Jeepgate.
man.
I would call it, man. I'm gonna say, look, I think that Springsteen was the boss before Jeep. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hey, all of that today and our main topic of the day. Keith, give it up.
Well, Stellantis kills the SRT team, or did they?
Right. Battle of the Planet of Stellantis.
Ooh, I love this
Let's
title.
go.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. Battle for the Planet Stellantis coming up.
I'm Jay, your co-host, along with my good friend and host, Keith over there. What's up, Keith?
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, not much, man. Talking about a dang old NASCAR. Come back to Nashville. Tell you what.
Hello, everyone.
Get her done. Yeah, we're back. Hey, this is post 500. We didn't have this on the list of things to talk about, but we are talking NASCAR today. We won't let that be the first thing we talk about. But I watched it. It was kind of boring.
Talking about the Daytona?
Yeah, a lot of rain. They should figure that one out, man. It rains in February in Florida.
Florida, February. What are you going to do, right? Yeah.
Right. So, well, you're going to run around a Walmart.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do.
So let's...
Looking for them COVID shots.
Let's hypothetically, theoretically say that you were going to pick something, I don't know, maybe like a news article that we wanted to talk about.
Live.
What would that hypothetically, theoretically, what would you go with?
Well, I'm going to go with GM.
Okay.
Let's talk about GM.
Little G, little M.
Little G, little M.
All right.
Yeah. They bold statement recently. Bold statement recently. They're going to go, carbon neutral by 2040, by 2035, no longer making diesel and gasoline engines, or what we call in this world ICE, internal combustion engines. No longer going to be doing that. And they had committed to, 30 new electric vehicle models
in that neighborhood
by the year 2025. So we're starting to see those things trend up a little bit with these guys. And it's based on their battery electrification program. What is the name of that thing again?
Ultium.
Ultium, that's it. Ultium,
what do I win?
Their Ultium platform. But we said this in previous podcasts that we kind of felt like that if they're going to win this battle in the EV market, you got to have something that's going to help you kind of stand out. And maybe this Ultium battery platform is the answer for GM to kind of keep that alive.
I want to mention a couple things here. First of all, if you want more information on what Jay was just talking about there with regards to GM's plans, go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/parts counter gurus. Is that right, Jay?
That is correct,
and then,
sir. You are correct.
Hit the subscribe button. You'll be notified. But there is already a couple segments out there on, first of all, GM's vision, and then number 2, their whole push for being carbon neutral by 2040, and we get into that.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
I want to talk not just about what they announced here with the Bolt, but how they announced it. Okay, because they kind of
let's do that.
And so right about a year ago, in fact, right before the park got shut down, my family was at Disney, and it was leap year, late February. We literally shut the park down, Jay. Literally, right? We were one of the last, and then the COVID shutdown started to happen. We rode so GM has a partnership ride at Disney. It's actually at Epcot, and it was the boys went with another family. Both had boys. It was one of their favorite rides. It was their favorite ride, I think, at Epcot. And it's called the Test Track. Yep. Right,
and the Test Track is a real life slot car, correct?
Yeah. So
more or less,
it's pretty cool. Like you design the car, and then you go out and the whole family gets in it, and you run it on a test track, and it's a roller. It handles at some points like it feels like you're on a roller coaster. So it's well done. It's well thought out. They did a good job with it. So GM and Disney partnered for the reveal of this Bolt. Using like leveraging Disney's magic, right, and all that.
Yeah, and if you didn't see the reveal, I did. I watched it in depth. Nick Cho, who is a TikTok creator, I think he's goes by the handle of Your Korean Dad. He was the host for that evening, and basically the whole idea behind Disney getting behind GM on this is that, like Keith said initially, they already have a partnership with the ride at Disney World at Disney. And but GM comes out and basically says, you know what, we want to tell a story. We want to get our story out about what we're doing for the future, and there couldn't be any better company or partner to help them get that message out in this format, video format, because we are living in that virtual world now because of COVID. It's so hard to get an audience retained to pay attention to anything. So it's quite creative that they went to this degree. And if you didn't watch the video, and I'm sure you're going to play some segments of this thing in here.
Are you talking about the test track? Or are you talking about the Bolt? You know what? Let's do this. Yeah, I'll put some of that in there if I can find it. But then we'll put a link on our website at partscounterguru.com to the actual Disney GM partnership reveal video.
There's a lot of anybody who's ever been to Disney World. You had, what was the big there's a haunted house ride.
It's called the Haunted Mansion. Yeah, it's still there.
The Haunted Mansion, the ghost. So you've got all of these characters that appear in this video, along with the Tinkerbell character, the little girl. She's waving her wand, and it starts the car, and it's a magical experience for the family.
So this is smart. Now, it is smart on a couple levels. Number one, Ford has done their whole Mach-E thing, and they've appealed to, like they had Ken Block, in that reveal. And Ford is, they're kind of it's that sort of testosterone-y kind of crowd, right? Like they're going after the Bronco,
the macho crowd,
John Bronco, and that whole thing, right? And then
which was great. And then, if you haven't seen John Bronco do it.
Yeah, right. And so GM CEO Mary, and we've said this many times before on the show, she's talked a lot about how the future of GM is not these huge assembly plants. They're sort of refocusing their efforts. And so they're going, well, hey, let's go after the Disney families here. Let's go after, people that maybe, who's going to drive one of these things? And it looks to me like they have revamped this thing. Now let's get into a little bit of, what it is.
We will, but back to that marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the details. It's so smart of them, because if they are going to win the battle in the world of EVs and really sell that and pitch that carbon neutrality, then who do you target? You target little Tinkerbell sitting in the back seat riding that car, because that's the audience that's going to be buying the future electric vehicles by 2040.
And to some extent, marketing can make all the difference in the world. It's not necessarily who's best, move. It's who gets the audience first, right?
That's right.
And you know, their best does have a factor, and that's a podcast for another day. But you know, if you go back and you look at the Apple versus Microsoft story, Microsoft got there first. They had better marketing, you know, in the old days, and that's changed a little bit now, but they are heavily saturated in the business world because of that. So good job on GM's part. You know, certainly, you know, why not use some of Disney's, you know, hey, we got nobody in the park. Right.
That helps Disney
they're
too.
They're calling this thing. What you want to talk a little bit about the Bolt itself, and you have a family member with the previous generation, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, and you know it's a good ride. I mean, it's an entry-level vehicle, but if you look at the price of it, even the price of this, so that's something you got to pay attention to as well. This vehicle ranges from, say, 30 to around 45,000, depending on which model you get. Now, you only had the one model in the beginning, which was just the Bolt EV.
Yep.
Now you've got what they call the EUV, which is obviously a play on words, electric utility vehicle, which has a larger interior, wider body. Both of them actually do. They've been kind of rebadged. There's a lot more creature comforts on this generation than there were before. They're putting the technology where they need to put it, which is, you know, giving the customer that experience. And I think they portrayed that well in this video with some of the connectivity, some of the things like Super Cruise technology. The Super Cruise technology is something that GM came out with, and I think they specifically came out with it for their flagship Cadillac, the Cadillac models, and the Lyric will obviously have that in it as well.
It's trickling down now, right?
It's starting to come down, and it's pretty cool technology. So basically, and the steering wheel in this thing, by the way, when you're in Super Cruise mode, you have a green light in front of you in the dash, but you also have a green indicator bar physically on the steering wheel, so it's in your face. But there's a camera that pays attention to your facial expressions and what you're doing. It's watching every move that you make. That's why I put it. It's it's cool, but it's a little creepy.
Yeah.
Because that thing is like, it's, you know, where is that information going?
Well,
I have no idea, but it's going to the onboard systems for safety. And if you take your eyes off the road too long, or away from the road too long, then all of a sudden it alerts you. The steering wheel lights up in red. It's a big red bold, and it makes you, and then you have to it wants you to take back control.
Yeah. Speaking of, the whole, like the Tesla people with the, orange in the steering wheel trick, like they're trying to make sure you don't try to force autopilot. Speaking of Tesla, and we had mentioned this on a previous episode, this thing is now range competitive with a Model 3. They've done a good job with that.
Absolutely.
Have you seen, are you seeing, or have you seen, like, I love how they're just going after, like, you see the X-Wing and their little, the
whole, they had,
mode.
I mean, they've got a lot of, you'll see a lot of Star Wars.
Yep.
Some characters or ships and stuff in here.
Yep.
So it's a really cool video to watch, actually, but
it's definitely a crossover, right? I mean, you'd call it a crossover?
It's a crossover. Yep. It's look, here's what I say you have. You've got the Tesla entry level here.
Yep.
And then you've got the next level up, the crossover. That's what you have, those models in a GM. Because how are you going to compete? Who are you competing against? You're competing against Tesla.
And let's take that a step further. Now, I don't know if you picked this out. This jumped off the page at me.
Right.
So Tesla went out and to sort of win customers over back when they were gaining momentum, they had to foot the bill to deploy their supercharging network, their electric charging station network, and that was an assurance to their customers. Don't worry, we will reassure you. You're going to have plenty of places. to plug this thing in and charge it up. And we rented one, put it on the show. Sideshot and I went out and drove a Model 3 and literally we just didn't even try, and we just found places all over Nashville to charge it.
Right.
GM is doing the same thing, but on a different level, at a different angle. They're saying, hey, if you buy one of these, we will cover the cost of installing a home charging station. Now, they're really not. They're building it into the price of the car, but still, that is a very smart move because it removes that obstacle, that objection. Hey, I got no place to charge this, and I don't want to spend between $2,000 and $5,000 to have it installed. Right.
And what do we call that? Innovation.
I love how they're talking about ingenuity all over the product reveal. Just
absolutely, man. It is very. I think that we've been giving GM, some and deservedly so. We've thrown a few punches for the C8. Let's face it, the Corvette, the C8 not being able to be delivered.
Well, I thought this
has
Bolt,
been a challenge for
the
them.
First generation, I thought it was a huge disappointment.
Well. And again, I've been over to the local dealership, and now here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna when this model comes out, I'm going to compare it to the model that I'm going to drive, and see how much better it actually is. But I see Tesla all over this thing, man. And I hate to say that, GM.
Well,
don't get me wrong.
It's what's popular,
if I'm going to copy somebody, I'm going to copy Tesla. Man.
Doesn't the front end look a little bit like the Mach-E to you?
It does. It really does.
And I got to say, this looks to be a very smart move for them. I hope it does well for them.
It will.
I would love to know where they're going to build these things. It looks like this is the 2022 model year for both Bolt models now.
Right.
And we're talking about the next generation. The regular Bolt EV is going to start at about $32,000. So again, very price competitive. And then their EUV, which is really more of their crossover, is going to start at about $34,000. So just about $3,000 or $4,000 price difference at base for these.
The only thing is and really, GM they need a big hit, man. They really need a big hit here. Because they're betting their entire future on this battery technology. But they have to create an electric vehicle that people really, really want to buy. And so this is really a step up from the current generation Bolt. I just think that this does this for them.
Young adult professionals. I can even see college age. Model 3s are expensive. You get that thing the way you want it, you're 40, 45, 50 grand. Pretty easy to get to that price point on a Tesla. This is $10,000, $15,000 less. Now, arguably it's less of a car, less of an automobile than what you get, But some people aren't going to care about all those extra niceties, and they're going to go right to the low price competitor, right?
They are. Here's what I found interesting, though, and I think it kind of makes it makes sense and ties into why GM did what they did, the approach with the redesign, because the first gen on this thing, they're overpriced. I mean, right now you can get the first gen. They're offering like $15,000 off at the lot to unload those things. And if you look at why, the price on that thing is very, very similar to the entry level price on the new generation, but it doesn't have some of the technology and some of the nice creature comforts that the new Bolt does. So it's exciting for GM. I'm happy for those guys, man. It's a big deal, don't you think?
Right, it's huge. I mean, we're talking about it. It's got to be a big deal, right?
It's a huge step in the right direction for GM. So I was glad to see that happen.
Yeah,
so. It's
fun to watch. I like watching all this stuff. This is why we do what we do, And by the way,
it is.
If you like what if you like watching and listening to us do what we do, go on over to YouTube, youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus, and hit the subscribe button while you're there. Ring the bell. You'll get notified when we bump the microphone or release future videos. Check out our podcast at partscounterguru.com. You can find podcast links. There's a tab at the top. So wherever fine podcasts are given away for free, whether that's Spotify, Apple, Google, I don't know.
Tune in.
Tune in. We're in all
Amazon.
We're on all of them. Yep.
We're there.
Go check that out on our website. While you're on our website, there is a mentioned on the podcast tab. Everything that we talk about, including some of the video links to this stuff, will be by episode. This episode is the battle for planet Stellantis, I think, or something to that effect. So you'll find it there. Yeah. And by the way, for those of you that are already subscribers and fans, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we I sincerely cannot tell you how much we appreciate it.
And hey, and for those of you who are not so computer literate, get somebody else to do it for you.
Yep.
Period.
There you go. All right, what's
That's
next?
how you get around those things. We had another vehicle reveal.
Okay.
Just amazingly, man, all this stuff coming out. Let's talk a little bit about the new Mitsubishi Outlander.
Okay.
Toyota, pay attention.
All right, now
here's why I say that.
Before you get into that, because that is a very interesting perspective to me. Jay brought something out before we went on the air about why he thinks this is a good move for Mitsubishi. So, do you remember before? I want to give you kind of a perspective. We're going to do a contrast and comparison here. Okay, so Mitsubishi was, I would say, almost in their heyday in the 90s. Do you remember the Montero? Remember what an aggressive looking SUV that was? They were wildly popular in the 90s. They had the little Eclipse sports car. They had at one.
What was the 3000 GT?
Yeah, so
that
didn't that share some parts with the
Chrysler? It was the Chrysler. The Dodge Stealth. Yep. That's right. So, but Mitsubishi is not part of Stellantis. They're not. They separated themselves.
But they had. I mean, I've driven one of those 3000s, and it was fast.
Oh, they were?
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Japanese production versions of anything that Mitsubishi does, Toyota does, Nissan, any of those guys, they're going to be a lot different than what we see here.
So then they kind of lost their way. And I remember when the recession hit in 2008, I was seeing a lot of Mitsubishi dealerships shuttered. They just turned into ghost towns. They shut down.
No creativity.
And
no creativity.
They really didn't keep up with the changes. When everybody else kind of changed their design styles, and a lot of it was focused on fuel economy. I just don't even know. They didn't really have anything in those arenas. Now they've made some significant changes. The least of which is they moved their headquarters here to my backyard, across the street from Nissan.
Yeah, that was a recent move too. So now, folks, you got Nissan and Mitsubishi backyard.
So all of a sudden, they're making a concerted effort to show back up on the radar. And the timing of this is very interesting because of what you just alluded to, Jay, because we have previously talked on this program about Toyota being very quiet in terms of what they are up to that's game-changing. Okay?
Yeah, all of this. Yeah, all in the same time, they're killing off models.
Right?
And we're like, what?
The Land Cruiser's going away.
The FJ's gone.
The FJ's gone. So now
there was nothing that replaced those things.
You have Mitsubishi going, hey guys, what about us? And this was,
we got something.
This was you go ahead and take it from there, because this is kind of your observation.
Well, I just, when I started looking at the specs on this thing and what they're doing, to me it looks like, of course it's not as big as the Land Cruiser, but it is something that could be a flagship for these guys, like that Land Cruiser or that 4Runner or that Sequoia. You know what I mean? So when I started looking at the specs on this thing, I noticed a lot of the things that they were putting in this that they had never done before was very similar to what we're seeing Jeep do. We're seeing Ford do it. We're seeing GM do it. All of these, they're going off-road. It is that if you take a look at the direction that everybody is paying attention to, I know you guys are probably getting tired of hearing Keith and I say this, but when we were at SEMA in 2019, if you didn't get a clue as to what direction the aftermarket was going or the OE's going, then you just weren't paying attention.
All
you had
overland,
it's all
off-road,
overland
truck,
stuff.
Jeep. Yep. So this thing's boxy looking. It looks kind of 4Runner competitive to me. Current version of the 4Runner.
Yeah.
Definitely more aggressive than a crossover for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I was listening to, a couple of the engineers and the designers of this thing, and they have the platform, they call it, the concept is the iFudodo, which means authentic and majestic, whereas the older versions were seen as more casual.
Be careful, Jay. We don't want to get that explicit tag on Apple.
I don't speak Japanese, so that's the best that I have for you. But they came out with this thing. It has new drive modes in it, like normal, tarmac, gravel, snow, mud. Okay, very
there
similar to
we go with this goat mode thing, right?
Goat mode,
yep.
right?
Okay.
Everybody's doing this now. All these new drive and
GM's doing it in the Hummer EV.
Yeah.
Of course, the goat mode references to the Bronco. Toyota they had something kind of similar in my FJ, but it didn't have as many options.
That was your crawl.
Yeah,
that was
they
the
called
Toyota
it crawl, but it was basically like sand, rocks, and ice or snow. But similar concept. So yeah,
have you seen the interior on this thing?
I have not.
Holy moly, man. Okay, so when I saw the interior, I immediately thought like 55 Chevy Bel Air.
Okay.
White leather.
Does it come with Elvis?
Just this particular model. It does not come with Elvis, man, but I'm sure we can find him when we're in Vegas. But it's got the diamond pattern. This is the elegance package.
That's their big, trademark.
Right,
yeah.
It's the big deal. But one thing I noticed, the other trend that I'm seeing with a lot of these newer, larger SUVs out there, not just EVs, and the EV market is doing the same thing, is that I think they finally figured out that people want to move around in the cabin a little bit more. And whereas before, if it's not a sports car, then why would you create a cockpit like a sports car?
Right.
I can get it for a Corvette or maybe a Subaru BRZ or something like that, or even the new Nissan Proto. But you're seeing the trend of where the dashes are more straight lined.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot more knee room and elbow room, just moving room, and a lot less in the way of blind spots. It's very interesting to me. But they went full on. They've got the 12.5-inch infotainment screen, and then they got a 9-inch navigation screen too, which I don't understand why you need two screens. But
if you're like me, you got one screen for side shot to push all the buttons while I'm driving and yelling at him to stop pushing buttons, and then and then the other one is
Well, that's why you're going to need their My Pilot Assist with Navilink sign and speed recognition, which you can take your eyes off the road for a minute and it does it all for you. So again, everybody in the industry is really, really sticking their chest out with the technology that they have available to give to their consumers. And it's important. This is we mentioned this recently about the Ford and Google combination, the pairing there, and technologies that go into vehicles these days, and why that was such a smart move for Ford, but also why it was such a good move for Google, is because this is where we're at now. And if you're an auto manufacturer, your specialty is not all of this technology. So go grab somebody that has the technology and integrate it into your vehicle. So they've done nothing different than anybody else, which is give all those creature comforts, the technology, the level of technology that it deserves. But they just didn't cram the same old stuff in it. They created there's a whole new engine platform. It's a 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder. I think it creates around 190 horsepower. I mean, it's not a ton, but it's for what it is, it's enough. I didn't really see any towing specs on it or anything, and we'll get I think what we'll do is we'll have a future podcast about SUVs, new generation SUVs, and let's stack them up against each other, like say in 6 months or something, and see how they work into that off-road or overlanding crowd, which is going to work best. Is it going to be, will the EV market win that, or will you still have people like Mitsubishi that are putting out, internal combustion engine platforms with greater technology. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm happy for Mitsubishi. It's something new for them. Again, it's just a larger, wider vehicle, bigger stance. They claim it's more elegant, more majestic, more just different than what the previous version was. And I did take a look at the previous version, and there's nothing appealing to me about it. This has a little bit of a good look to it.
I predict.
I like it.
I predict. Mm-hmm. Now, some of this is price dependent. They have to be price
competitive,
competitive,
and gentlemen,
right?
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here
but
first.
I do predict this is going to do well for them. I think the timing is right. I think that they are positioning this design and all the stuff that Jay just laid out in terms of the features and the interior. It is positioned to do well. It's very appealing to a lot of to a certain market that a lot of people follow and have an interest in. And I think we're going to be talking about this again. That's my prediction. I think it's not going away. I think it's going to grow in popularity.
I think so, and and Honda and Toyota need to pay attention because they're directly going after the CRVs and the RAV4 crowd, and they'll win it because it is bigger.
And this is America. We like the underdog. We like to root for the little guy. So yeah.
But this thing is like it's got a lot to offer. So you guys just stay tuned to that. And again, it's a 2022 year model. I don't have a release date yet. I don't see that anywhere. But I'm sure that it'll probably be around this fall for you to be able to get your hands on it. But yeah. Third row seats too, by the way, in this little thing.
Which Side Shot would ask and point to that again, positioning them.
That's right for that larger SUV.
He constantly calls out these manufacturers that go and add a third row option, maybe 2 or 3 years after a model change to accommodate those demands. Right?
They are. The Japanese are paying attention to what the U.S. is doing. The Americans are doing with these larger vehicles. You saw Hyundai do it with the Palisade, and you saw Kia do it with the Telluride, which is basically the same thing, but they're third row seating, and it's just if you haven't been in a Hyundai Palisade or a Kia Telluride, do yourself a favor, just go down and test drive one, man. They are, for what they are, the price of that, and for what they're like $25,000 to $30,000 less than a Tahoe or anything like that, and for me, they're just as roomy and reliable. I've owned a Hyundai now for nearly 12 years. Just a great ride, man. So anyway, there you have it. Congratulations to Mitsubishi.
All right. Yes. So now on to your boss. Oh, I'm sorry, the boss. Now, I'm going to set this up, but I want you to. There is a big I told you so in this.
I hate to say I told you so.
Coming up here in a second. But let me explain. So if you've been living under a rock for the past like 2 or 3 weeks, Bruce Springsteen, also known as the boss, did a Super Bowl commercial or big game commercial or whatever with Jeep. I believe the Jeep that he drove in the commercial
I think it was a
was his. I believe it was one from his collection.
Yeah, it was.
Out in the middle of Kansas and Nebraska. Yes. Okay. And so the whole concept of the video was to meet in the middle, and it was it was politically stirring, and there was a lot of buzz around it for that
backlash.
Reason. Okay, so then Jay and I started talking about this, and if you haven't seen the video, Jeep took it down. You can watch it on our commentary, where we did release a commentary on that video in the middle. You can watch the whole video there, and we encourage you to go do that. We started watching this unfold, and we were talking about the comments on YouTube and how it was not trending well. Meaning, if you release anything on social media, how it trends is a big factor. Is it 70% positive? Is it 80% positive? And most of the it was about 50-50. It was not doing well in terms of people's responses and feedback. And I don't want to get into that so much as I want to get into me messaging Jay or calling Jay the next day and going, dude, they just took this video down. Holy cow, this is a huge deal. And
right.
And we had a conversation about that. And, why did Stellantis decide to pull the video? Well, it certainly feels like it was because of all the negative press and the blowback they got out of the actual ad itself. However,
right.
News dropped of a DUI Springsteen got. DWI, sorry.
Yes, yep.
In November of 2020 on his motorcycle in a national... no, I don't know if it was a national
somewhere in
park
New Jersey. It was a state park.
Okay.
State park, I think.
Okay. Let's see. Gateway National Recreation Area. Oh, it's a federal park administered by the U.S. National Park Service. Okay. So
there you go. Good eye there.
He stopped to talk to some fans. Somebody gave him a shot of tequila. He accepted. Park ranger witnessed it, pulled him over. Now, okay, all that aside, isn't this coincidental timing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you suspect that Stellantis possibly knew about this?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Take it away.
Okay. All right. So when we were having our conversation, you bring to my attention the video has been pulled down, and I'm like, you know what, man? That thing got too political for Stellantis, I believe, and they're gonna just wait. They're gonna pull it down, and I bet you that they're gonna put this on Bruce. They're gonna dig some. They got somebody back there digging some dirt up.
Less than 24 hours before it got pulled down, you were saying this.
I said that. Now Stellantis came out and made a statement that said that they pulled the video down after the story broke about the DWI. Well, let me tell you something, guys. There was no story broken about the DWI before they pulled that down.
I mean, how does that happen and not make the news wire until the Super Bowl ad, unless somebody wants you to know about it? I mean, they've had 3 months, right?
Right. So, of course, Stellantis comes out and says the right thing, which is, we don't condone drinking and driving. We didn't know about this, so we're out of it. That's why we pulled it, and we're wishing Bruce the best. But you can still watch it. Bruce didn't pull it down off of his site. You can watch it there.
Okay.
You can watch it on our site. And the guy who shot the video, it's on his site from what I understand as well. So it's still out there. You can watch it, but it just is not on the Stellantis site. Now, here's what's even more interesting about this. This is why it gives a little bit more cred to what I'm saying. Okay, Springsteen, he did eventually take a breathalyzer. He wasn't going to at first, but he did take a breathalyzer.
I'm so glad you went there. Go ahead.
Okay, so the cop said that he could smell alcohol. That he appeared to be slurring his words just a little bit, and having his eyes look glossy.
Well, he's 71, man.
He's 71 years old.
He's on a
people,
Triumph
okay?
motorcycle in November. It's probably a little chilly in New Jersey.
Little chilly, yeah. And here's the other thing: if you're not a musician and you've never been on stage with a band, to understand what that does to the nervous system, there's a reason why these guys wear ear protection in their ears, but they were not doing that early on. So he's got, there could be some central nervous system things going on with Bruce that causes him to have these things. He did give into a breathalyzer.
Okay. What do we know the results of that?
Yes, we know the results. 0.02 blood alcohol.
And the intoxication threshold is
0.08.
So he was under the legal limit.
He was under the legal limit, yes.
Okay, if that were a regular checkpoint and you take a breathalyzer and they're not...
on your way, dude.
Okay, so...
You're on your way.
Now, I must point out that at the location he was in, alcohol is banned in that area.
But he did not know that. Because
ignorance of the law is not a crime. I mean, it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. Okay.
being from the area, he's been there many times before. They made it a point to bring out that in November of 2019, that's when they passed the law when you couldn't do it. Okay,
if you are caught in possession of alcohol, that is, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm no attorney, okay, but I'm going to make a best guess here that the punishment for that would be different than the punishment for driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated. Possession of alcohol is different than operating a motor vehicle with alcohol. Okay? So if they're going to charge him for being in possession of alcohol on federal property where it's not allowed, that's one thing. Okay?
Right.
Now, the consumption of alcohol on said property could be another charge. But still, that's not this is a DWI arrest, if I'm not mistaken. Okay?
Right.
So
you
got a guy that's under the legal limit. He blew. He passed.
He told him exactly what happened.
Yep. And this is a federal case. It's, I've been, I travel a lot. I go into a lot of national parks. We've got a federal parkway that runs close to us. I've had friends get ticketed on it for speeding. It is a different animal. Okay, I do understand that, but this doesn't really add up to the huge ordeal people are making out of it, especially since it happened in November.
Right. Happened in November before the commercial. I mean, look, let me say this again. We said this about GM and the Nikola deal. Okay? You vet. You go through the process of looking into things, man.
You pull it. Yeah.
Right. Why did you bring Bruce Springsteen in to begin with? I know why. Because he can send a strong message just by his fan base alone, talking about bringing people together. I mean, he's the Born in the USA guy. He's, all of these things. It made sense. And if you go back to our podcast and you listen to what I said, I was like, it was a cool commercial and everything, but it's a little bit too political, I think, man. And then, lo and behold, they pull it the very next day. Now, Bruce Springsteen is going to be just fine, people. He will be just fine, and he'll just take his Jeep and trade it in somewhere and go get something else. But I'm telling you right now, it's a shame that the boss was thrown under the bus. Well,
man. and look, I understand people's point of view on why maybe this was a bad choice for this kind of a commercial with this kind of message. I get it, okay? And I probably would agree with you to some of the points that I've seen and some of the comments that I've seen. But that's on Stellantis or Jeep for making a bad decision. If Stellantis or Jeep is using a DUI or a DWI to get out of a controversy,
a poor choice,
at someone else's expense, that's not cool. And look, man, you made your bed, you lie in it. Okay, you shouldn't have put the boss in a controversial political position where he's always been very clear where he stands, and then realize it after it airs and you read through the YouTube comments, and then try to take it down. I mean, that's yeah.
This plays right into what we've been saying all along, that a lot of these automakers are doing this live polling stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not doing their homework. They're, and again, I don't care, even if this had turned that up, I'm not sure that it would have, I mean, I don't know. I would have taken a look at it and gone, okay, well, no prior record, understand the circumstances. I mean, what if the guy had gone to his daughter's wedding and he had a shot just before he left? I mean, does that make him a bad guy? No, of course not, it doesn't. He was celebrating something. He was in the moment. I'm not condoning it. This is not what I'm doing, but I'm just telling you the circumstances. You put the shoes on your feet, okay? Where would you be at? Does he deserve to have his just name smeared for this? I think he deserves an opportunity, just like anybody else does, to go through the court process and see what happens from there. And of course, he's got plenty of money, and I'm sure he's got a lot of legal representation to get him through those processes. But hey, man, Stellantis, period. Bottom line is, you know why you pulled this video. That's all I'm saying. I don't have anything else really to say on that, but they know why they pulled this video.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's, not because of the DWI. That's my thoughts, and we'll leave it at that. So let's move on. Keith, what have we got next?
I'm turning left, Jay. I'm turning left.
Where are you going?
All right.
Left. All right.
So
turn left.
I live in Nashville. For those of you that I live in the area. For those of you that didn't know,
right.
And at one point, I remember when it was built and opened, not too far from where I reside. They constructed a large, fairly state-of-the-art,
huge
super speedway, and it was in use for maybe about 10 years.
Maybe
it's not in the city; it's out pretty far away from downtown.
Yeah, it's in Gladeville,
Yep.
which is about maybe a 30-minute drive to the east of Nashville, out beyond Mount Juliet in that area.
So Nashville Super Speedway, and then it all just sort of went dormant. And I want to say this was. I might be wrong in the timeline, but it was right around that recession era, right?
It was, and
2011.
you even had. That's right. You had Craftsman Truck Series running there. They had some races, and you also had the IRL had some races there.
Yep, it's a big facility.
It's huge. Is it a 2-mile track? It is, isn't it?
I think so.
It's a super speed. It's a big one. It's like Daytona size or Talladega size, I think. And it also has a drag racing strip.
Yeah.
A drag strip in the middle of it. So it's huge. It was designed with in mind that we're going to have huge events here, and it was well thought out. They built a freeway exchange for ingress and egress of traffic. They had some hotels go in. Of course, they went under too, but I think now it'll probably come back. But I lived in Nashville for 25 years, and before I moved to Nashville, it was very shortly before, or maybe there shortly after, that the short track in Nashville, they're just in South Nashville, which is right there between Knowlesville Road and
by the old fairgrounds.
The old Fairground Speedway is what they called it. That's where some of those guys cut their teeth on. I mean, Michael Waltrip, Darrell Waltrip, Sterling Marlin, a lot of those old drivers, those Tennessee drivers. That's where they cut their teeth. Formosa Brothers Racing. It was huge there. I had some friends that worked the track. I had been to several of those races, and they had NASCAR at one time. And everybody kept saying, well, it's coming back to Nashville, and it never did. And that's when they built the big one.
Right, the super
and
speedway.
NASCAR never came. Then after things weren't working out, I think Dover Downs purchased it, and they were under their umbrella. When that happened, everybody got excited because they're like, well, okay, so we have the race in Dover, Delaware, at Dover Downs in Dover, Delaware. Now that they own this track here, maybe they're going to split it and have a race here. That never happened. I'm still to this day scratching my head why NASCAR doesn't work in Nashville.
Yeah, I don't know, and I would love to have that answer also. But now they did have the Xfinity Series here at that super speedway, right? At one point.
Yes, they did. They did. Yeah, that was one of the last ones. Yes.
So here we go. They're going to try again. This is a huge undertaking, a huge expense. Basically, this thing's been abandoned for 10 years. And it's not that old in terms of, compared to some of these other tracks. It's just that it's been left unattended for a decade, and that's the issue. There's going to be so much work to bring it back up to speed. They're targeting June,
obviously.
Let's see, the race.
June 18.
There you go.
Through 20. Yeah, June 18 through 20 this year.
That's right.
And just understand there's a lot of degradation that goes on with certain components of the track. The concrete. This is a concrete track. So they've gone in, and I understand they've laid some asphalt down in some of the turns. And again, let's go back to this. I'm noticing this in this headline. This is the first time in 37 years that a NASCAR Cup Series racing will be front and center.
Yeah.
NASCAR Cup, not not Xfinity, not Craftsman Series.
Yeah, this is the
NASCAR Cup.
This is
the big cup. This is it. This is the what is it? So you can tell we're
yeah, it's the one that
you can tell
the
we're
Ally
fan.
400. There you go.
Yeah, Ally 400. Yeah, there you go. That's a weight loss thing, isn't it?
Ally's a bank.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But isn't there another like Ally like weight loss?
Don't you watch NASCAR, Jay? Ally's a bank.
Dude, I haven't watched NASCAR in years. I mean, my guy is, retired. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, and I think he had a part in, at some level, trying to put something back to the original short track that you mentioned that was at the old fairgrounds, but that didn't pan out, and I don't know if he was involved in this or not. But
yeah. Well, let me give you a little bit of, just so you guys that are listening to this and you're interested in it and you're living in that area, or even if you're not living in that area and you want to fly to Nashville, let me tell you how easy it is to get to Nashville. When you get off the airplane there, man, you just rent a car and take a right and head east on I-40. I mean, it is so easy to get to. It's so easy to get to downtown. So trust me when I tell you this, if we're in some sort of normalcy, or if we're at 0.25% or 0.5% of what we should be based on COVID restrictions, you're still going to have a great time. Nashville's just a great
I'm going to need
man.
to edit this section out. I'm just going to warn you right now. Because when I moved here, it was a nice community, and now it's traffic so bad. And let me just rephrase, summarize what Jay just said, everybody. This place is a crime. It's riddled with crime. There's dumpster fires everywhere. It's really not safe. Please don't come. Don't visit. Don't think about it. Watch it on TV. Yes, absolutely. If you don't live here, in fact, if you do live here, there are better races elsewhere. You might want to move to one of those cities and just, yeah.
All right. We know what you mean, man. It's all good. But look, NASCAR takes this thing very seriously, and so does the track ownership. And they're focusing on the safety and health of their drivers and their teams. Also, as well as the audience, the attendees. They are focusing on right now working on the infield care center.
So don't come because it's not safe.
It's being completely gutted and redone. All the suites will be redone, lighting, sound system, all those sorts of things.
But not in time for y'all to come visit.
Right. They have safer barriers in order to protect the drivers, they say now, and they have done some asphalt applications on the apron to the concrete track. And see, there's not that many concrete tracks out there, which is what makes this cool. Dover Downs is one of those. So I'm excited. Again, I'm happy for Nashville to get this going again, and I would fly out annually for a race there just because I know what the track is. It's a beautiful location, man. It's so perfect. It really is. So
we'll see how it goes. Ring the bell, hit the subscribe button. The next opportunity that we have to get a little bit more information into this, who knows? I may get out there and give you some live on-site remote stuff, but you won't know unless you go to youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus and subscribe. So please and thank you.
That's exactly right. Man, talking about that dang on NASCAR coming on back to Nashville, tell you what.
All right, Dale, you want to get into this this big deal?
Yeah. Are we talking about the battle for planet Stellantis?
That's what we're talking about.
All right. Okay. So, it's funny how, and this is the world we live in, guys. You have to understand that. So what we say today could be different tomorrow. And as two individuals who cover things that happen in the automotive industry or technology industry, period, just as quick as we get that information out to you, things change, as in this case. So I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Stellantis obviously is now the name, the umbrella in which Fiat Chrysler, as well as PSA or the Peugeot group, are under now. They named it Stellantis. But we know what Chrysler holds near and dear to their heart, and so do their fans. And they have the street and racing team, the SRT team, that are building the Hellcats. They're cramming these suckers into these Jeeps, and just, I mean, let's face it, they're doing things with that platform, the SRT platform, with the Hellcat, the Red Eye, all these things that no other manufacturer's really doing. I mean, they have racing technology, but again, these guys are cramming them into Jeeps and minivans.
Let me give you just for those of you just tuning in, let me give you the brand portfolio under this under the Stellantis badge. So
Go
Jeep,
ahead.
Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Mopar, Fiat, Abarth or Abarth, depending on how you pronounce it, Maserati,
Abarth,
Alfa Romeo, Lancia, Citroen, DS Automobiles, Peugeot, Opel, and Vauxhall. Or Vauxhall.
right? Vauxhall,
Yeah.
Vauxhall.
So-
yeah, just a bunch of automobiles.
Yep.
And we get it. They want to make a global push.
Now, they announced earlier in the week, and I don't know that this was an announcement so much as it was just the media finding out about it, that this SRT team that you just referenced, right?
Yep. Right.
Was disbanded. That's their engineering
Correct.
team that is going to be responsible for creating things like that Hellcat Challenger, right?
Right. That's right.
They've done some cool stuff in the past. I think that's the same group, if I'm not mistaken, that put the Viper together.
Yeah, it
Right.
did. It shocked a lot of people when that happened, and just so you got, they produced some really potent machines.
Basically, these were the muscle. This is the muscle car division.
Yeah.
Okay. Performance.
The Hellcat in 2015, which you had the Demon drag car a few years later.
Yep.
And they produced a lot of SRT branded Jeeps, Chargers, Challengers, and I think that even some of the Ram pickup trucks have some of the SRT packages, which they're calling the Trailhawk. There's a Trailhawk package, which is basically an SRT. So it falls under that SRT team, which is the street and racing team for all of that technology and engineering. Well, they're not going anywhere. That's what we're hearing now. They originally said that they did disband them, but they spread these guys out evenly. And
so they weren't fired. They were reassigned elsewhere in the company.
Right. There's just no longer a dedicated SRT team. The engineers who comprise that group continue to work for the company. They were spread out to various Stellantis brands, over a dozen, they say, and integrated into the global engineering organization. The former team, though, will continue its performance-oriented work while also assisting other brands. So it's not going to go away. So it'll be interesting to see how Stellantis, under this new umbrella, how they utilize that technology. My thoughts are they're going to keep it. So keep working on that here in the U.S.
I'm going to pontificate here for a second. Okay, this is just me kind of guesstimating based on some previous things that we've seen both Stellantis and Fiat Chrysler do. They've indicated, and we know this to be factually true, that the days are numbered for some of those high performance engines that they were using in things, for example, like the Hellcat, right? Like they've already come out and said that's going to be a limited thing going forward. They're not going to continue to do that for the next decade. Okay.
And you're not, and again, to point this and bring this up, because they haven't really shown their hand if there is a significant move towards electrification either. So that's a key point we need to make here.
So it is rare in the automotive industry that a manufacturer will make a discontinuation change without having a simultaneous plan for something to take that place. So, for example, you're going to see, this is why we were so shocked with Toyota. If they're going to discontinue the Land Cruiser, what are they going to put in its spot in the lineup? Like they got to have something. So now I understand that the SRT badge on these, that's just one version of that Challenger, right? Or
That's right.
Whatever car it is. It's not the whole car line. It's just a performance version of that car. All right?
Right. That's like what Toyota would do with their TRD package, or
that's right.
Nissan and their Nismo package.
Correct.
It's
so it's
similar.
Like it's like sort of if Nissan got rid of their Nismo team. That's a good.
That's
okay.
right.
So what seems to me to make sense in this move is that there is a plan to put these engineers in another area, perhaps where it isn't in ICE, in the internal combustion engine performance side, because Stellantis has a vested interest in moving in a direction of electrification. Okay?
They do.
And so
yes.
Makes sense to me that maybe we're not going to have an SRT version of whatever anymore, but we might have an electrified performance version of, I don't think they're going to turn the Challenger into an electric vehicle, but they may do this on some of their stuff,
They could. And if going back a few podcasts, Keith, if you remember, we talked about the reveal of the Grand Cherokee L.
Right.
And they had made mention of one of the Jeeps, the CJs, offered in what they call the 4xe platform. And at the end of that video of the reveal of the Grand Cherokee L, they revealed that they were also working on a 4xe version of that. So electrification is coming in some way, shape, or form. We knew that. We talked about it. We had some chatter, but they were not as forthright and coming out and just saying this is what we're doing, like Ford and GM has done. So there's a little bit more of more of a hey man, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. It could be a good thing. It could be a good thing that they're working on something really cool and they just don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet because of the competition watching them. Did people actually used to put cats in bags? I mean, where does that come from? But I digress. Man. So yeah.
Same old saying like scalded dog. I mean, who's throwing hot water on a dog? Man?
What's wrong with people, man?
What's wrong with people, man? Some of these old sayings, man. We should dedicate a podcast to the old sayings. We should do that. The top 10 old sayings from your family. Boy, if you don't eat that, I'm gonna slap you clear in the next Tuesday. Yep. But can't get away with that now. That'd be called child abuse. So it's funny that we're talking about this, electrification. So we turned up some information that maybe they're up to something. Keith, what do you think?
There is no doubt in my mind that they are up to something.
Well, who is the superhero that's the superhero out there? What's his name? His name is Magneto. He's a fictional character.
Right. Yeah. So, well, now Magneto, let me take a comic book nerd break here for just a second. For those of you who don't know, that comes from the Marvel Universe. He's featured prominently in a lot of the X-Men movies that have been out. He was kind of an arch nemesis of Spider-Man for a while. He is not a good guy. Okay? Nope. He was considered a villain in most cases, although in some of the more recent X-Men movies, he's taken a little bit more of a neutral role. But I digress. That term has significance because, why, Jay? Talking about Magneto.
Well, we were just talking about, what in the world is Stellantis doing? What are they going to do with Jeep and Chrysler? And you even put me, you interviewed me for the CEO of Stellantis,
I did.
Man, and asked me what did I say what would I work on first?
Something in the Jeep lineup, if memory serves.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe electric Jeep, maybe like the 4xe program they got coming out. Well, look, man, Magneto, for those of you who don't know what Magneto really means, but Magneto is that Marvel comic character. A Magneto is a small electric generator containing a permanent magnet and used to provide high voltage pulses. So it just so happens that Stellantis has filed a trademark for the name Magneto. And speculation is that they are positioning themselves to brand themselves in some way, shape, or form for future electrification. And just as you've got the Mach-E, You got like Chevy and this Bolt. They got the new logo, and I mean, so now here is Stellantis doing the same thing.
Well,
and
here's where the speculation comes into play with your whole Jeep. Okay, so we already know that Jeep is working on an electric Wrangler. They've acknowledged that. The Magneto character that we keep referring to, he was able to move metal objects with his person, with his mind, I guess you'd say.
That's right.
He could willfully move them around, and anything that could be affected by a magnet, meaning most metal objects, right? He could overpower those objects. Well, you have a metal object in a Jeep, and a fixed magnet situation like a Magneto that could power or move that object makes sense.
Correcto. Man, see, we are just like, we've got this figured out, my friend.
I really just wonder why more people don't come. I mean, if you just want to know, you just need to come here first.
Hey,
hit the subscribe button. You'll find out about it before anybody else.
YouTube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. Smash the subscribe button, please. Thumbs up, no thumbs down. And hey, you, thumbs downer, you're killing me, man. I don't know who you are, but you're the only one thumbs down on us. You need to stop. Go elsewhere. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, so
please direct all thumbs downs to who do we not like this week?
Right,
Where do we want to send those? Down. Okay.
Right. So it looks like you've got Planet Stellantis. They're putting together this like superhero team to come and take over the world with electrification, man.
So they filed a trademark for the name. That shows intent to move forward. I would say their plan aligns with your prediction.
I think so.
I mean, this is, again, I've said this a lot today. I say this frequently. It's fun to watch this stuff play out.
It really is.
You know?
We'll keep you abreast of the situation, no doubt about it.
I've got to say our track record on predictions is pretty solid. Like,
it's pretty good, man. I think we pay attention. You know,
I hate to say I told you so.
So, you know, Stellantis is not the only one electrifying. GM's not the only one electrifying. Ford's not the only one electrifying. Everybody's going to electrify. You got e-bikes out there, man. You got Harley Davidson with the, what do they call it, the wired or whatever it is, the live wire?
Yeah,
or
I think it's the live wire. Yeah.
I can't keep up with all these fancy electrification names. But Chevy Bolt, I mean, well, at least Hummer is a Hummer, but it's just Hummer EV, you know. And it hums. You know, power lines hum. I would like to say to the state of Texas, you guys may have a real problem if you don't get that grid fixed.
Yeah, so again, we've talked about this. This is going to be a problem as more and more manufacturers build more and more electric vehicles, because that is a huge hit on the grid. That is not typically 110, it's 220. That's a huge load.
It's a big hit.
Yeah.
That is why, I bet you that's why Elon's moving to Texas. He's going to help them out with their grid, man. Because I don't know if you haven't been watching the news, I mean, I already knew this, Keith already knew this, that there are basically 3 grids in the U.S., and Texas is on their own grid. And you can't buy power from somebody you're not doing business with, man. So you can't, like, move it around.
Right.
So anyway, we talked about going, you know, out with your RV, and we've had this on before where we talked about the Silver Bullet, right?
All right, you want to do this? Let's do this. Okay.
Let's do this one.
All right.
Go for it.
All right. So we'll close it with this one, I guess, right?
We'll close it with this one, yes.
So this is fun when you sort of end up not exactly where you planned, but that's all right. It's, you know.
I'm just kind of weaving the basket, man.
This has become a theme with us on this program. I just reference a jazz musician and say, you throw anything you want at me and I'll find my way to improvise out of it. Okay.
Right on.
So
sounds good.
Now, we talked about this before. I feel like the news is more in what the other people are doing. But let's go ahead and so Airstream has confirmed that they are going to make an electric assist Silver Bullet, as Jay referred to it.
They are
RV.
moving forward, man.
And this makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of
so much sense.
More people having EVs and those Airstreams, at least at this point, being lighter. Now, when you start adding a bunch of batteries in there, it is going to affect that weight significantly. But if you're going to tow something with your EV, like, for example, a Tesla Model X, you're going to reduce your range because of that added tow load that you're pulling. So if they're able to supplement that by battery packs or whatever they're going to do in this Airstream, that would be a huge plus. But also, and this is something that I know and you know, Jay, and I just think more people aren't aware of it, and I don't know why the RV parks aren't capitalizing on it more. So we just said it takes 220 most of the time to rapid charge these EVs, right?
Right.
Where can you easily find 220 that has had 220 or 50 amp service for decades all over the United States? People have been plugging their RVs into those power poles for years and years and years. There's always a couple spots open. Well, there used to be before everybody went out and bought an RV last year. But during the day, before somebody checks in, if you need to power up for 30 minutes, pull in. That's extra revenue for the RV park owner. He's letting you charge your Tesla or whatever.
Right.
So it makes sense to be able to, if you're going to pull your Airstream in and plug it in anyway, well, now you can charge it up and charge your EV up and be on your way, right?
There's a couple of things here. The electric assist is not only that storage, but it also is going to be equipped with electric motors just like the vehicle has. So in a specific mode, it'll be just like I would assume it'll be just like a coupler in your braking, and when you have power assist brake or electric brakes and all the couplers that you hook up for that to where it works in tandem with the vehicle. This is going to be the same way, to where it will be talking to the vehicle, knowing computer to computer.
Right.
We'll be talking to each other and basically saying, okay, we're going up a hill now, and the RV that also has motors that can drive will be able to assist the vehicle up with a lot less power loss.
Right.
In other words, giving it that extra 2 cylinders it may need if it were an ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicle.
If they do any power transfer at all, they are going to have to come up with a new generation of trailer plug connectors, because the existing wiring can't handle that.
Yeah. So you might ask why in the world would anybody be doing this? Well, it just makes great sense. Look, the timing is good because you've got, over the next 2 years, supposedly what's going to be hitting the market is the Tesla Cybertruck, the Rivian R1T, the Lordstown Endurance, the GMC Hummer EV, and the Ford F-150 electric vehicle. Look, man, you're buying them for a purpose.
Yep.
Not just because they're electric. You need a truck, not just because it's electric, but you're doing your part for the carbon neutrality factor, if you're that conscious of that, and that's what you want, but you also like to RV, and there's going to be tons of people doing this. This is it's a no-brainer, in my opinion, for these guys to be doing
now,
this. Now,
Thor Motor Coach is the parent of Airstream, and what's interesting to me, and that's their kind of one of their premium RV brands, Airstream, is that Camping World let the cat out of the bag not too long ago, that they are partnered with several other RV organizations that are doing the same thing. And that, to me, is interesting because Camping World, who's probably the largest RV dealer in the country, has an interest and now may become a manufacturer of their own product line with a game changer, right? So they get this to market first, because you can't, if I'm not mistaken, unless you buy used, you cannot buy a new Airstream at a Camping World. That's a luxury dealer line. It's like buying a Lexus or an Acura or a BMW. You got to go to a specific luxury dealer for an Airstream, right? So Lordstown Motors is working with Camping World on that effort.
That's right.
And that looks to be interesting for the reasons I just mentioned, that this could be a game changer in the RV industry if you have a dealer-manufacturer situation.
You know what, man? Absolutely. And as we're talking about this, with COVID, and, RV sales are through the roof now. You can't get a slip in a campground without at least a year out. You just have to wonder, when you have a product like this coming out, you have an electric vehicle, and you have a way to store electricity for that vehicle in an economical and efficient way. It's very appealing. I wonder if we're not moving into some sort of nomadic type people, man. Are we going to be that? Is our society turning? Because you got Starlink up there now, where you're going to have Wi-Fi
anywhere. What do you mean gonna be, Jay? Have you not met me? I mean, have we met?
I know you, but I'm talking about people that have never done this before. And
I want them all to move to Nashville, and then I'll leave. Right? That's the plan.
And why this is important, why I bring this up, is because people are moving out of cities in droves, record numbers of people. They're buying RVs, and they're getting out from underneath their houses. They can work anywhere. Pay attention to this market, man. It's I might advise we buy stock in Ultium Battery, and I said that in our last podcast.
You buy some land up that you can convert into RV parks.
Oh man, there's a lot of land in this country that has not been bought up. Quit putting subdivisions up, man. Just make an RV park. Yeah. Right?
There's a shortage right now.
I know
it's feast or famine with those things, though. They're either doing really well or they're struggling.
Yeah. Guys, for me, it's stories like this that we have talked about several times that really excite me for this industry, because things are starting to kind of come together and move into that direction, where there's a lot of naysayers out there saying that the EVs won't work. We don't have the infrastructure. While I agree with some of the statements that have been made out there about the EV market, it's going to happen. Will it be by 2040 that we're completely carbon neutral? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But we are certainly seeing companies make that effort to get there, which is more than we've seen in the past decade. Just in the last 2 years, we have really seen that uptick. And I believe that COVID, this worldwide pandemic, has really assisted
has altered the course of
the acceleration of this whole thing, man. I really do.
It remains to be seen how embedded the EV platform can get before another generation comes in to compete. Meaning, is it going to be hydrogen fuel cells, or is it going to be solid state, or whatever? But the longer we are in EV phase, battery operated automobiles, the more people buy those, the more of a standard it becomes. So anybody that's got a plan for something else, you better hurry up and get it to market.
Right. And just like we always say, if you don't have a smartphone or a computer and you're not so computer literate, you're going to get left behind, because these are you can make those excuses, man, but if you're not understanding what is happening right in front of you, right before your eyes, don't say no. Don't say it ain't going to happen, because it is happening. The movement is on. The electrification of vehicles is on, my friend. So, wow.
I hate to be the one to break this to you, but automobiles are not human. They have no lineage or personality.
I wonder why I keep forgetting that.
I don't know. So,
it's great.
You want to give us some hot links?
Stuff? Yeah. So, hey, thank you all for listening. If you're listening to the podcast today, thank you for listening, first and foremost. If you're watching, thank you as well. If you're listening, if you're not listening, go over and go to partscounterguru.com and click on the podcast tab, and you can subscribe and listen to it on any platform you want to. For the video segments of our podcast, we have our YouTube channel, and that is youtube.com/partscountergurus. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. If you give us a thumbs down, whatever. At least you're watching. We'll take it. Ring the bell so you're notified, and you'll know when the next episode comes out or any video comes out. We got a lot of fun things happening over there. Keith does a lot of great DIY stuff. I try to put a few things out there from time to time. Also, we are social media gurus too. We're there. If you don't believe me, go to facebook.com/partscountergurus and like us, share, tell a friend. We're there. You can go over to instagram.com/thepartscountergurus. Just, like us there, comment, do whatever you want to do. We're there. Also, we now have a Twitter handle. We are at The Counter Show, which is what you're listening to right now. So get over there on Twitter. We're active on Twitter as well. Is there any other social media? We're not on TikTok, are we?
No, I've held off on that one, mostly because I have more to say than their little short,
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, look,
we'll
if you want to, get on there and do some skateboard tricks or whatever, I can post that out for you.
I know some people that can help me with that. Maybe we can, yeah. So, anyway, just please, whatever you do, when you go to our website at partscounterguru.com, you're going to find a complete menu up top there of things that you can choose from. Podcast links. If we mention something on our podcast, there's a mention on the podcast link there. If you want to do some shopping on Amazon, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, there is an Amazon link. Click on that, and you can shop. And when you do that, that helps us out if you shop through our website. We don't know who you are. We don't know what you're buying. It's just a door to get into Amazon. It really helps us out. It helps us keep the show going. And in order for us to continue to do this, we need some help like that. So very much appreciate any of you who have utilized that, and we very much appreciate any of you that will. I use it even, myself. So I guess I'm kind of, helping myself out.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, somebody's got to.
There you have it. Keith, why don't you... this is a great show.
Yeah, man. This has been a fun little jazz experiment. For those of you that don't know why I keep referencing that and what we're talking about, the song as we wrote it got performed a little bit differently than scripted, and I feel like that's okay. I think some interesting things happened, and it was fun, and I hope the audience likes it. So it's kind of interesting,
Yeah, love it.
I'm telling you, sometimes you get in there, man, and you just try to play a couple of wrong notes, and you find your way out of it.
Hey, Keith, this is why we do what we do, my friend. This is why we do what we do. We just we enjoy it.
So, speaking of great improvisation, I'm going to leave y'all with this. It is my hope that Jay, you've been in many bands, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you can relate to this. It's my hope that those who have an inkling to play, write, perform, or otherwise do so. If not for yourself, then for the rest of us. It's not only that the world needs more artists, it's also just a lot of fun. Chick Corea.
Yeah. Rest in peace, my friend.
Thanks, everybody. For my partner, Jay, over there, I'm Keith. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, liking, clicking, telling a friend, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.
Hey, coming up on today's show, we've got a quite a good show, quite the list of for the show. Hey, can I do that all over again?
No.